Alright, 5 lines to the bottom. Lo Yerelecha. Those are the last 2 words in the line. Actually, okay. Lo Yerelecha. Is Tani. Those who say, so learn that pasuk. Lo Yerelecha. L'choyin ro. You can't see your own chametz. Aval ro at the gavor. You can see chametz of Kodesh Baruch Hu, meaning hektish. Is Tani. Those who says afilu gavor. You can't even have see chametz of hektish, which is strange because chametz of hektish not belong to you. What's the problem? So, he says that you can't see your own chametz, but you can have a round chametz of hektish. If you're makdashin in the first half of the day. Because when does it become hektish? When does it become osir? Only at the time of beer, meaning after 6 hours. Before that, it's still not osir. So your hektish is a legitimate hektish. So it became valid hektish. Therefore, subsequently, there's no transgression on the problem of having the noble transgression because it's already hektish. Madamar filu gavor. He said that even if it's already hektish, it's a problem. If it's remakdish after the time when it's supposed to be eradicated, which of course is too late. Since it's too late, so therefore, at that point, it's not because it doesn't become hektish, because it's also for you to do anything with it at that point except to eradicate it. So therefore, it doesn't become hektish. Therefore, it really remains yours vis-a-vis the prohibition, and you transgress chametz when you have it. Amar Rabbi Bun Kumi Rabbi Zira. Rabbi Barchia, send for Rabbi Zira. Tipater, I have another way of interpreting this. It depends if it's kachim which you have to replace. If it's kachim you don't have to replace to get lost, then you don't transgress by motzei on them. But it's kachim you have to replace because they get lost. For example, it's a mincha which you have to replace if you lose it. So then that's when you're chayav by motzei, even though theoretically it belongs to kachim. Says the Gemara, let's bring it out another draw. Rabbi Shimon holds a kachim that the kachim which are chayav in their Christ and which you have to replace to get lost, you transgress by Yirah, and them they're like yours. Another drush loyer elecha. Is Tani. There's some Tanoim who learned, or some people who learned this means you're not allowed to see your own stuff. But if you have stuff in a platia, in a large plaza, meaning hefker, that's okay. Is Tani. Those who said I feel a platia, even a large plaza, you're not allowed to see chametz. He who says you can't see your own, but you can see stuff in a large plaza. It's when you made it hefker prior to the time of eradication, prior to new. So then your hefker is still valid hefker because you still own it, and you can still make it hefker and get it out of your shus. So therefore you don't transgress anything when it's already out there, and it doesn't become osir ba'noah. That cannot become chametz shalav v'lova pesach because it doesn't belong to anybody. Man afilu platia, you said even the platia it's osir. B'sheiv kilo achar biuro, it's when you're mafkirid after the time when you should eradicate it, so you can't really be mafkirid anymore because you don't have full ownership or to make it hefker. So therefore at that point you transgress. Now most of the Mefarshim, almost all of them, 99.9% of them, take out these words and say it's not relevant here. We're not talking about kachim anymore, right? But the Or Sameach leaves it in. The Or Sameach says that even in Rishus HaRabim, even chametz who are mafkir, you're still chayav on. In which scenario? If the chametz is kachim shu chayav achriyusa. Because kachim shu chayav achriyusa, the chol mokum, everywhere it is, it says, the Gemara says, Bei Gaza d'Rachmana Isa. It's still in the treasury of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Meaning that even if you were mafkir kachim, which you want to relinquish ownership of it, if it's kachim shechai brachus, what's one that you rechuyev to bring, so then even once you relinquish it, it still remains yours vis-a-vis the issue of having to bring it as a korban. It's still kadosh, so therefore even if you're mafkir, you're still transgressed by a motzei. Okay, but as I said, most of the Mefarshim take out this line because kachim, when they do this, they tell you about hefker. Now, here comes a real problem. I'm not sure even what to do with this. If somebody was mafkir his chametz on the 13th day of Nisan, what's the status of this chametz after Pesach? Rabbi Yochanan Osir, Rabbi Shimon Lakish Amar Mutar. Rabbi Yochanan Ben Lakish says it's Osir, Rabbi Shimon Lakish says it's Mutar. Now my problem with this is, anybody guess what my problem is? Why do I have a problem with this? Rabbi Yochanan says you're mafkir your chametz on the 13th day of Nisan, despite the fact you made it after Pesach, it's chametz sharvel Pesach and allowed to have a benefit from it. What problem might I have with this?
What are you saying?
With Rabbi Yochanan's approach.
He gives it away to 13th?
No, he relinquishes ownership.
Relinquishes ownership, okay.
He makes it hefker.
So he's saying that
Rabbi Yochanan says nonetheless it's prohibited.
because he's getting on off from it.
Well, he's not getting on. No, it doesn't say he's getting on off.
Oh. So I don't
It just says it was mafkirit. So my problem is like this. I'll tell you my problem is. My problem is that we just said Amid Aleph or 2 Amid Alephs ago that bittul works.
Oh, right.
So, and that's really so why shouldn't hefker work? If they don't say that hefker does not take it out of your possession, and therefore you transgress by roh by mutz on it. Why not? What's the qualitative difference between hefker and bittul? So one is forced to say, I think, one is forced to do a corner. One must say that Yerushalmi, even the Yerushalmi holds bittul works, which maybe it holds that bittul doesn't work with Rabbi Yochanan. It's possible Rabbi Yochanan argues that Rav holds bittul doesn't work. But if he holds bittul works, it's not that it's the same thing as making it hefker. Rather, it's making it worthless. So therefore, if you make something hefker, in other words, when you say libatel, kafra da'ara means you deprive it of its significance. But even if something is deprived of its significance, even if something is hefker, then it's not necessarily deprived of its significance. Not necessarily deprived of its significance, so then it can have the status of chametz sharvel of Pesach. No?
You have the status of
That's
what?
everything you could say, but it doesn't really make any sense.
No, it doesn't really make any
You
sense.
have the status of what?
Something Rashi holds that bittul means not that you make something hefker, not that you make the chametz hefker, but rather you deprive it. You say it's like afra da'ara. Has no significance vis-a-vis.
Okay, right.
So Rabbi Yochanan is saying, well, since hefker and bittul are not the same thing, if you did hefker and not bittul, so then your chametz remains osir b'ano after Pesach. Okay. So it says.
Could even be that hefker would even be better than bittul.
Of course, you already be that hefker.
You have to do in front of 10 people. He's still getting beyond you. 3 people.
Right, that's the round why the bittel's not hefker.
But
Dinner or separate.
That says superior to hefker.
really?
Superior because it's effective even though you don't have the people around.
There are those who say that it's still really hefker, but normally the reason why normally you need 3 is in order to ensure that he's doing it and not faking it. And here surely he's not going to fake it because if he was faking it, it'd be osir ba'ano. So if he's doing it for sure. But those who say that the fact that you don't need 3 is a raya that it's not hefker but rather something else. Which we're working well with our Gemara for something else. Okay? So says Gemara, if you didn't have on the 30th day of this one, La'achar Pesach, what's the size of your chametz after Pesach? Mao. Rabbi Yochanan Osir, your chametz is osir, Rabbi Shimon Lakish Amar Mutar. It's permissible. Meis Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Shimon Lakish, Rabbi Yochanan has Shimon Lakish. Let's do it this way. Enat moideli, do not concede to me, Mishesho Sulamala Shu osir, that from 6 hours and on, meaning the afternoon, it's osir. So what if it's osir? That means after 6 hours, it also daraisa. According to Yerushalmi, when does it come osir daraisa? An hour before Pesach. So then, really, when it comes to at that point, Rabbanim made it osir to you, right? Even though it's already tantamount to hefker, right? Because what? Yeah. Right. But even there it's hefker. No, but why you transgress? No. But you transgressed them by Rabbi Mote, at least Midar Rabbana. Why?
If you made it hefker.
Didn't you make it hefker by definition? Because Rabbana were mafkirid from you. Are you allowed to be Mekadosh if you're a Mekadosh woman from Sheshos Sulamala with chametz, even though it's only into the Rabbana, it's not a good kiddushin. It's not a good marriage. So you see, Rabbana took it away your ownership. I know you're going to answer. Rish Lakish answers your answer. Listen what Rish Lakish says. Armlei Tamini Suro Garamlo. There, it's not that you lost ownership altogether. It means that you no longer do what you want with it because it's usher to you. But if you're mafkir before Pesach, here, why shouldn't it work when you're mafkir previously? Is that what you wanted to say?
That's what the first is going to say. But then he brought it to marriage. Not that I was going to say, call it that, Kaddish, that, or bottom Kaddish. It's a separate and anything.
No, that's but yeah. Okay, so that's Shloki's time, which seems to be quite a legitimate taina. So it says, well, Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Pinchas. Rabbi Yosef said, Rabbi Pinchas, no, here I remember. No, here, do you remember? Karavina Amin, when we used to say, Asher Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yosef, Shimon Lokish, Meir, that large Rabbi Yosef, that he also Rabbi Yosef, and large Shimon Lokish, that he also Rabbi Meir. Do you remember that we said that? And the parallel is, Rabbi Yossi holds in Masechta Nedarim, that once you make something half, it's still yours until it reaches the hands of the acquiring party. So therefore, there could be that's Rabbi Yochanan's svara here. Rabbi Yochanan's svara here is that the reason on it, even if you make the chametz hefker, it still transgresses because it's still yours until somebody else acquires it. And of course, nobody else is acquiring it. Rishim Belokish holds a grand mayor that the moment you make something hefker, it immediately leaves your possession. So he says, you remember why we said that? Ain't okay. It's not true. Haha. Joke was on us. Ella, rather. Rabbi Yochanan chashish la Shimon Lokish lo chashish la Rama. Now, of course, it's a machlokas Rabbanan. Really, hefker works. But Rabbi Yochanan is afraid that people are going to trick and say, "Oh yeah, sure, I'm hefker it," and they're lying that they never actually made it hefker. It's afraid people will try and be charlatans. Shimon Lokish lo chashish la Rama. He's not afraid that people are going to do that. Mana v'neo, what's the case where there's a nafkamina, where it shows an example case where there's a ramification of this machlokas. So, nafel of mapolis, if the chametz is buried in an avalanche. Manda Rama, he is afraid that the guy is just sneaking and trying to get his chametz mutter. Leitzka Rama is no Rama here because it's dangerous, he's not going to go there. He's not going to bother with it.
Just as an aside.
Yeah.
You always translate my polis as being an avalanche. I always understood my polis as really being like destruction of a house as a result of an earthquake, which was common to that.
No, my polis was the house, not a landslide. It's possible. I'll accept that. Okay. So, my polis, my Rama. If you say afraid that the guy is going to cheat and say it was hefker, really wasn't. So here, it's obvious that it's for real. And the chametz should be mutter as well as he was mafkir when it was underneath the avalanche. He would say it's no longer yours to be mafkir it. So, so here too, it's no longer yours, right? It's out of your possession. So therefore, Vu also, and therefore remains the chametz remains also. So the chametz which there was a mapolas holds the case in which the chametz was buried in an avalanche or a broken house. So in both cases, it's going to be a machlokas, right?
What happens? What's not going to be real from Yerushalmi about the case of?
Yeah, what I meant to say is that there is no machlokas. But no matter how we interpret it, everybody's going to agree. If you're going to say that that's a case of mapolas is the case of harama. If you're going to say Noi Rabbi Yochanan are a case of harama, that the guy might lie and say that he did be hefker when he didn't. So in this case, he's not going to lie. Obviously, we're not afraid that he's going to lie because actually we see that the chametz is lost from him, and what else is he going to do except be mevatel? It doesn't hurt him being mevatel it. The other chashash is that he can't make it hefker because it's no longer his. That would be a problem here. That would be a problem both according to Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish, because the taka is no longer in his possession to be mekadesh it. To be mafkir.
example that shows the differences between the upper and the Yisrael.
Right. Whether it's aroma, they're both going to agree, and whether it's because of zchia, they're both going to agree. Why is it so strange?
Now, we think it's about Chodesh Baruch Chodesh aroma. We want to know
No, we had two versions of what it is. Whether we're Chodesh for aroma or whether we're Chodesh for zchia.
So in the case of my Polish, either way, both of them are going to say the same thing.
Right.
Okay, so therefore what? What do I care?
It's not. It's just a case where we can illustrate what the differences are. It's not teaching us necessarily anything new. That's what you're asking. What's it teach us we didn't know before? It's not groundbreaking. It's just applications.
I guess it had to be mentioned because why do we throw it in?
Perhaps goes to the next case. Let's see. Everybody agrees. By Ger, a Ger Shemes, Ger died. Now he died before Pesach. Okay? Now the Jews all took over his property. Now, after Pesach, what's the story with this property? Madamara Roma Mutter. Oh, the Jews only took over his property after Pesach. In other words, for 8 days or 9 days, his property was left in its pristine condition. So what's the story here? So it says, Yerushalmi Mandamara Roma Mutter. It says we're afraid of aroma. Here there's not going to be any aroma. The guy's dead. So the Ger will die without any heirs. What's his aroma? It's going to give to without our consent. Manamai Zchia Mutter, here it says question of Zchia, right, whether they acquired it or didn't acquire it, they transgressed by Rabbi Mutter. So of course here during Pesach they hadn't yet acquired it because they all acquired the property only after Pesach, right? So therefore in this case there also won't be a Machlokas Rabbi Yochanan Rabbi Meir as well. Tama, we learned over there at Tninan. Evet Shaso Rabba Potke. An Evet, a slave which is made by his master to be designated collateral for a loan. La'acher for another individual for which he contracted a loan. V'shicharo, and then the borrower releases the Evet, right? I skipped just a second. An Evet was made by his master to be a designated collateral for a loan. For somebody else. And the master let him go. Mishra said that according to the strict letter of the law, the Evet doesn't have to pay anything. Because what did he do? He was passive. He was freed. But because of Tikkun Olam, in order to rectify the world, in order this guy should be able to survive as a free man, Kovinis Rabba, we compel his original owner, or actually we compel an owner. Voso ben Chorni makes him a free man. Because he writes him a document on his money, on his value, and the Gemara will explain what that means. Shimon says, "Eno kosef." Nobody has to write any loans. Ela meshachrer, rather he just lets the guy out as is. Now, mi meshachrer, who's going to let the guy out of this detail here? So it says the Gemara, Rav Amar ben Rav ben Rishon, out of his avdus, who's going to let him out? So Rav says either one of his masters can let him go. Or either the first one or the second one who just bought him. Rabbi Yochanan said, the only person who could do the shiur, who can get him out, is the first master, because he's still really direct connected to the first master. So Rabbi Chagai Kumi Rabbi Yosa, Rabbi Chagai has from Rabbi Yossi, Masnisa Pliga Rab. Our Mishnah argues on Rab. Rab says either one can go first, or can let him go. It's not true. Look at our Mishnah. Our Mishnah says, Yisrael Shil V'Sakum Al-Chem Tel Achar Pesach. If Yisrael gave a goy a loan of chometz payable after Pesach, muter ba'anoya, then it's muter ba'anoah, will have to benefit from that chometz. Why? Because Why is it Muslim Hana? I guess because the guy didn't acquire it yet. No, because the guy did acquire it. Again, let's read it again. The third line down.
Collateral. The way he's put up his collateral.
What?
Collateral. The way he put up his comments.
Yeah. Yeah. So it says the Mishnah argues around. It argues around because Yisrael Shehilva as Akum Achemto Achar Pesach if a Yisrael loaned money to a guy on the basis of his chametz Achar Pesach after Pesach Mutar Ba'anoyah. You mutar right benefit. Hi, he owned chametz on Pesach, right? Because he received chametz on collateral. Ma avele Rabbi Yehuda. What does Rabbi Yehuda do to say with this? It says kalu b'shichur. He says it's a chachamim. Try inter b'shus Yisrael. Yeah. So if you're going to say that the chametz becomes the Jews, so it's also. So here too. What?
It's almost like it begs the question, it should be us.
Yeah, but I'm not explaining the question well enough. The question of Rav is like this. Rav said the second master can let the guy go. How can the second master let the guy go? He said either the first or second master, the seller or buyer, can let the guy go. If that's the case, that means the second master has got some mastery. If that's the case, so when Yisrael loans money to a guy on chametz as collateral, so then the Yisrael has to really have some mastery over the chametz. If he has some mastery of the chametz, so how come he doesn't transgress by Roh by Motzah? That's the question. Again, according to Rav, the second owner, the one who's buying, already has the power to let the guy free. That means that a second owner already has some ownership. The second owner already has some ownership, so taking that a step further, in a similar case of a loan, when you have a guy who loaned Yisrael on his chametz, and took the chametz is designated as their collateral, so then it should be both who transgress by Yerushalmi. But it's only the first guy who transgresses by Yerushalmi. It's not comparable. Is that clear? No, we're going to give an answer. Oh, are we? Yeah. We're going to give an answer. So it says, why does Rab say either one could be Meshachar over here? Ma'avad law. What does Rab do with this? Rabbi Yehuda said, Kalu b'shichur. There's a leniency by shichur. But Kadod the Tayyid, like that, what you learn. Shichuro. Also have the putting if somebody makes the designated collateral, so then Machro ain't a Machro. Now to sell it. Now to sell him because he designated his collateral, now to sell something which has been designated as collateral to a loan. However, Shichur I raise him a Shuchur if you release the Avid, so the release is valid. Why is that? Because if releasing the Avid, so already gave him a Shem Yisrael, you can't renege on that. And also there's no such thing as a partial Shem Yisrael, so either fully a Shem Yisrael or not. Right? So therefore what we say is like this. We say in the case where there is no evidence involved, so then we can go by in a case where there is no evidence involved, so then who owns it? Even Rav agrees the first owner owns it, not the second owner. In the case there's an evidence involved, so Rav owns the second owner, also has ownership rights. Why? Because we want to make it easier to release the slave. So no matter how the process starts, it's already considered to be a process of release, and that's good. Okay, and that's what it says here. The raya from Yochanan is like this. That it says, the Shulchan Leo says the Eved doesn't have to write his vow, doesn't have to assume the obligation. Because here means assume the obligation of the debt. The Eved doesn't have to assume the obligation of the debt, but rather, all we do is we release him. So we see release is a very big mitzvah, right? So we don't even have to write an IOU. Why? Yeah.
We're talking about
Yes. It's still a very big mile to release him. Release him is a mocha mitzvah waiting for you. Whatever. Tefillah b'tzibur. I'm not kidding. It's to have a minion. No. The Eved K'nai is released because of full Yisrael. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
This is pretty basic. You have to revoke my speech. I don't remember this.
You can't be a grandfather and not know this. If you release an Eved,
Yes.
he becomes a full Jew.
Okay.
That's why Shichro is a very special mile. Not because we're into liberty. Life, living in pursuit of happiness. No. He becomes Jewish. We like Jews. What? Honest. At least an Eved K'nai becomes Jewish. So here, Eved K'nai, right? So again, let's take it from the second line. Right, exactly. Once he's released, it's a straight jacket for him. He has to become one of us Jews. No more of this hanky-panky. But otherwise, what advantage is there not to be Jewish? There has to be an advantage not being Jewish. Avda b'efker nicholei. What does it mean, Avda b'efker nicholei? If you release him, it should be more nicholei, right? Right? Meir says Avda b'efker nicholei doesn't want to be released. But Shitascha, if he gets released, it's even more hefker. No, once he's released, he becomes Jewish. What?
Nikolai is what?
Avda befkera nicholei.
Oh.
Nicholei. He likes it.
Oh.
Noach lo. He likes it.
Oh, no.
Okay? So let's say for the second line again. This Mishnah argues of Rav. Rav says either Eved has the option to release him. But that's not true because it says Yisrael shiur v'asa'akum al chemto la'achar Pesach. Says the Jew low money to go and got designated collateral for of chametz after Pesach. Mutar b'ano, you'll have to write benefit. Ain't there Rishus Yisrael? If you're going to say that there's affiliation to the second owner, well, in this case it's the Yisrael, so yeah, also it should be also after Pesach. Ma'avilei Rabbi Yehuda. So what is Ma'avilei? So Taka, what does Rav do with this? Rabbi Yehuda Kalu b'shichur. There's a leniency by shichur in order to get this guy to be fully Jewish, that we even let, even if the second master is the one who releases him, that suffices. Like that, what you said. Putting his son, he makes his hand to designated collateral. The sell he can't sell because there's no coolest by selling. But shichur raise him a shukra. If you release him, he's a vow release, and he's released even from under the shibud of being meshubad to the other individual in this internal whatever it is here. Okay, so says the Gemara, what's Rabbi Yochanan's proof that what Rabbi Yochanan say again? Where's Rabbi Yochanan? Oh, that only the first master can release. What is Rabbi Yochanan's raya? Because it says, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel eno kosef ela mishachar. Shimon Gamliel says the Eved need not write that. Never need not write an IOU for his value to the second owner, meaning the creditor. Ela mishachar, the person who let him go, who released him, writes the IOU. So that means that who writes the IOU? The single person who has the right of release. Who is the person who has the right of release? Not the person to whom you write the IOU. Who's the person to which you write the IOU? The buyer. So must see the buyer can't release. Only the seller can release. Okay, that's Rabbi Yochanan's source in our mission. Only the seller, it's not really a seller, it's somebody who designated the evidence collateral. So only he can release the slave. And once he releases the slave, so he writes to the he writes an IOU to the person to whom he was going to give the slave as collateral. It says more further. Elo Mishabi, now the Kohen Mashbiach, this is a new sugya, or quasi new. This is going on that which he said, that the Eved doesn't have to write his own shtar, doesn't have to take to assume the loan for which is being held as collateral. So the Gemara says, I don't understand. If somebody puts his field under lien to his friend, he goes and sells it, doesn't the Baal Chov come and grab it? So here too, let's say the Eved's released, too bad. Let the second owner come and grab it because he was already pledged to him. Ravo said, Pesach Meir Pesach and Rabbi Yochanan illuminated for us, or opened up for us, Pesach Meir Ka'oira, a very illuminating opening. How so? Lo matzinu Eved shemishtachar v'choser mishtabed. We never found an Eved who was freed and then had to go back and go into Shibud again. So therefore, the Eved is free. If that's the case, but why does he have to write a document assuming the value of the IOU? If he's free, he's free. What does he have to write? Take on the IOU. What's the point of that? Says more, a very interesting answer. It's better that we say to him, Taili Masayim Zuz, give us, meaning the person who testified, 200 Zuz, which we have in your hands, lest people say you are my slave. In other words, it's better for the guy against whom they're testifying to admit that he was a slave. To write a shtar. Because once he writes a shtar, people are not going to come to him and say, you're my slave, or you were a slave. Right? It's better that people see that he pays back his debts. So basically what we're saying, it's a Maris Ayin type thing. We only mean the rights of the guy's off the hook. He has to wait till his proper aiders against him. But you were saying that the guy is on the hook because he doesn't want to get a bad rap. Okay? So that's what I'm saying here. Again, it's better for a person, the released Eved, to quash all rumors by writing the 200 zuz and getting the case, the case, to write a star on the 200 zuz, whatever is owed. And to get the case put on back burner so people don't discuss it, that you can see that he was once a slave. Because since he was a slave, it's going to be very difficult for him to defend himself. Rabbi gets him to defend himself, to say that he actually was, the release was fair. Again, the second owner is happy mad. He's going to spread rumors that this Eved released himself on his own cognizance, which is not allowed to do. So in order for the Eved to avoid that, it's better for him to say, all right, I'll pay you the 200 zuz when I get it. And don't start evil, malicious rumors about me. Rabbi Gesar B'Shem Nasa said, Asher Shin Gamil Kurai Meir. Yerushalmi says you let the Eved free and you make the debtor pay his proper debt. So that's a Rai Meir. Kamar Meir Koines, just like Rai Meir finds a person bidvarim when he does something wrong with his mouth. Karen Shingamil Koines bidvarim. So that Shingamil finds a person when he does something wrong with his mouth. Now here it was. Where's Rai Meir? Oh, we're about to have it. How so? The Tanya will learn Shtar Shesh Baribas. If I roll you an IOU and I promise you interest in it, which of course would be according to Jewish law, and then the police catch up with me and they record my transgression, so I wasn't allowed to pay ribas, and we took it out of the shtar. But I pay you the principal of the shtar, or is that also affected by the ribas? What? Because I borrowed $100. I promised to pay back $150. $50 is ribas, but the $100 is principal. If the loan is canceled, do you also cancel principal or just the ribas? What? So here it says that's a machlokas, and the same machlokas appears over here. Just like Rabbi Meir finds you by words and doesn't let you collect any of that document, Cain, Rosh Gamliel, so Rosh Gamliel also finds a person and says that you can't collect anything, not in the principle. Whereas did I get that right? Well, let's read inside. The Tanya Shtarshish Maribis, if you have a document which has interest written into it, so you find a guy, you can't collect even the principal, much less the ribis, and that is like Rav Shin Gamliel in our Mishnah, who says that the buyer can't collect anything. In such a case that the principal goes to Hekdesh or to Tzedakah, whatever the case may be, not Tzedakah, the other, scratch that. The principal goes to the other litigant, because on the principal the attacker was alone. There was nothing wrong. There's no interest assessed in the principal itself. It was beyond the principal. So Chachamim saying in that case, you do collect the interest. You have the principal. You just don't collect the interest.
Can't we just determine this concept or so? Can't we just determine which concept?
Based in
the ideal based.
Yeah, the conceptual based in. Right, not a tangible one. So again, Rabbanan Yitzhak B'Shem Rav Nasa said, "Answer Shin Gamliel."
The extent of which this knas of this extent.
No, but I think we paskin this way. This way, Gemara paskins in Nezu Neshech as well. Yeah. So it says more again. Rabbanan Yitzhak B'Shem Rav Nasa said, "Answer Shin Gamliel." Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir claims it right. Just like Rabbi Meir finds a guy by Dvarim over here. In other words, that a guy who just like Meir finds the guy, just like Meir finds the guy by ribis, so to Shin Gamliel finds the guy, makes him pay for the evid he let loose, that he relinquished ownership of, and Rabbi Chachamim hold like whom? That's Chomer. I don't know if the Chomer really have a parallel in our sugya, because nobody says you don't got to pay anything. Well, no, I understand first parallel and second parallel. It works like this. Chomer said, according to Rabbi Meir finds a guy who did something wrong with Dvarim and makes him lose even above and beyond what he should lose. Not only does he lose the ribis, the interest, he also loses the principal. Right? So to Shin Gamliel says, even though the evidence is free, and freedom really undermines the entire shibud, nonetheless the original owner has to write a shtar, has to write a document, an IOU, pledging the full value to the person to whom the evid was in fact promised. So that's a true knas, above and beyond. Now on the other hand, Rabbanan hold that the whole issue is Maris Ayin. And this Maris Ayin focuses on the evid. And we tell the evid better to write a shtar and get them off your back than let them say all sorts of vile and malicious rumors about you. Right? So the parallel corresponding to that over here is that you don't, that here too, there's no inherent knas. You don't make him give back the principal which he collected, because that's legitimate. Only the things which are improper, and that we make them go back, meaning only because of Maris Ayin do we make them go back, do we make the Evid go and give the 200 zus. Okay? Only because of Maris Ayin. So that means there's really no knas. We're not consigning, not the original owner, nor the Eved, because the whole payment is just based on saving face. Right? And making sure nobody says, oh, this guy's really still an Eved. But in terms of the actual payment, there's no knas being made. It's just takona. L'toeles, for the advantage of all the people assembled. Okay, is that clear?
That makes more sense.
It makes more sense for a man or Shingamliel? No, a man.
It makes more sense. There's parallel to but a knas. So extend the knas.
Hey, this is our Shingamliel same thing that Rameir says you pay you barred from paying the ribbis, you gain from the ribbis and the principal, and here too we make the Meshachrer pay up, the 200 zuz, which is the value of the ever which he let loose. But the thing is that, or whatever whatever the value is. But the thing is that I'm trying to say that also. I don't know. Try one more time just for the heck of it. The Rameir tried to say also that the Chachamim over here who say that it's a Maris Ayin Dike Halacha that the average have to write his value, meaning that there's no true Knas, it's just like an Eitz Toiva. So there too, there also is no Knas, that which means there translated that you pay the principal back and not the interest. Okay, I tried. Any good? Well, we're a little dense tonight. Anything a dog cannot find is considered to be buried, and you have to look for it. How far down is considered buried? Rabbi Avun, Rabbi Yochanan, Shimon, and Yitzhak said, Ad Shlosha Tfachim, up to 3 Tfachim. No, if it's more than 3 Tfachim below the ground, so it's considered buried. You don't have to be Mavatal, you don't have to do Bdika. Yeah, and it was in the Mishnah. And if it's less than 3 Tfachim, you have to go down and get it. Okay, new Mishnah. Halacha Trumas Chametz. Some eats Trumas Chametz on Pesach. Very easy Gemara, by the way. Halacha Trumas Chametz on Pesach. Shogeg Mishayin. If he did B'Shogeg Mishayin Keren B'Chomesh, he pays the principal and an extra fifth. Now, obviously, Trumas Chametz on Pesach has no value. You pay a theoretical Keren B'Chomesh, right? What it would have been worth, or not Pesach. If he eats Mezid, so Kinlay bin Rabbaneh, right? He's Chayav Misa. So there's more severe punishment. Potamin Tashlumin. He doesn't have to pay any Tashlumin. He doesn't have to give the May Eitzim, meaning that if it's Truma Tmeya, which is only suitable to be wood, right? You might say, well, Chametz you can also use as firewood, right? So nevertheless, since you ate it, so therefore you're chayav to pay. Even Truma Tmeya. Okay? But chayav Misa twice. Chayav Misa because of Chametz and because of Truma. Just that anybody's chayav, the chorus. The only thing is that here for the Truma Tmeya, the halacha is, of course, you get a punishment besides the chorus. But not if it's on Pesach, so that takes over. You don't get a punishment for the Truma. Okay. And what do you have to pay? Tana Shimon Lazomer, Shimon Yotzorek Mastisok Sheifrisha Matzah. The only time where you can get Truma on Pesach is if you set aside the Truma when it was still Matzah, not really Matzah, but it wasn't yet Chametz, and then it became Chametz afterwards. But if you want to make something, you have Chametz, and you want to take of Truma on Pesach, lo b'dah. Now, of course, you can have Truma of Chametz left from before Pesach in your house. But if you have something which came Chametz on Pesach, you can't take Truma of it. Why? It's not yours anymore. They're not yours. How are you going to take Truma of that which is not yours, right? Now, Hivish Matzah Chametz. What about if you have Matzah? Say, here's my Matzah, here's my Chametz. Let this Matzah be Truma my Chametz. So the truma here is yours because it's matzah, and you can do activities with your own matzah, right? So Rabbi Zir said, no, it still doesn't work. You know why? Even though you have the right, you are empowered because of your ownership here to use the matzah as truma. Nevertheless, there's a special halacha called truma sheina materes as hashirayim la'achila. Truma is called reishis. Reishis means it's a first. Means there must be a second. Second is called shirayim, the remnant. Called truma sheina materes as hashirayim la'achila. Anytime there's truma which doesn't allow that which is left over to be eaten, because what's left over is chametz, ain't a truma, it's not truma. Period. Take out the next word, the carbonate takes it out. Just one word. Hivish chametz on matzah. What about the other way around? You took off chametz on matzah. Does that work? Doesn't matter what? I'm Rabbi Zir. Rabbi Zir said, If you took from its own min ane and chometz is not truma. Oh, this I feel has to be taken out also. No, maybe this one works. Maybe take from chometz and chometz it doesn't work. So certainly if you take from chometz and matzah it doesn't work either, right? Because obviously the similarity in Kai would have meant that it works more. Obviously this doesn't work. Now, our boss Ravoim Bifnei Atzma. Cool case. You have 4/4 of grain. How much grain do you need in order to be chayiv in challah? 5/4. A kav reva. So you have 4/4, not yet a chiyuv, right? 4/4. You took 4/4 of grain. Bifnei Atzma by themselves, the chimtzon, he made them chometz on Pesach. V'aborim bifnei Atzma, and he took another 4/4 and left the matzah. The irvan, and now you mix the two batches together, and now you eat from it. So what malchus do we give you? If we warn you that you may not eat tevel because they didn't take chal off, ain't a loike, don't get malchus on that. Mishum ochel chometz says if we warn you not to eat it because you're eating chometz on Pesach, loke, you do get malchus. Why is that? Because iser chomer chalal iser kal. A more severe iser can devolve upon a substance which is already forbidden in a less severe iser. However, ve'en iser kal chal iser chomer, not vice versa. And here it became chometz before it was chayiv and challah, right? Because each 4/4 by itself, 1/4 by itself is already chometz before you combine it with the other one to make a chiyuv challah. So therefore I can't flog you about eating tevel, but I sure can flog you about eating what? Eating chometz on Pesach. But what about the reverse? First you made 5/4 of flour, so it became chayiv in challah first. And then you fermented the mixture. In that case, even if they warned you not to eat tevel, like it. And if mishum ochel chometz Pesach loke, if they warned you not to eat chometz Pesach, you also loke. Because what was the first issur in that case? Tevel, right? The issue was tevel. So iser chomer chalal iser kal. The more severe issur takes effect on the less severe issur. If ain't iser kal chal iser chomer, so then the lesser issur not take effect on a more severe issur. So here too, you have the tevel that comes first. You have chometz that's more severe, that comes second. So chometz takes effect, and you get flogged for either of them. Asa kri, this is the coolest case in the world. Coolest case in the world, guys. Asa kri, you made a mixture of dough. Vishtachavelo, and you worshipped it. You worshipped the dough. Now, I'm sorry, not a dough. You made a pile of grain. Then you bowed down to it, and then you mareach it. Then you smooth over the pile, and so it became chayiv and truma. So what's the status? And then he ate it without taking off truma. They warn you you're going to eat untithed. You don't get malchus because the issur of truma came second, right? Because you only mareach, smooth over the pile after it was ready avodah zarah. Ain't no like we warn you're going to eat avodah zarah. It's like it. Why can't iser chomer is chalal iser kal vein iser kal chal iser chomer? But at first you made chayiv and truma, and then you bow to it down it. Because there iser chomer chal iser kal. The first iser was iser kal, vein iser kal chalal iser chomer, and not vice versa. But here, of course, it works because first you had the iser kal and then the iser chomer. All right, we'll stop it tonight. Baruch Hashem, we finished strong. We're able to vindicate our earlier missteps, and we'll still take it from here tomorrow night.